So this is my third attempt at making part 2. I went out shopping yesterday afternoon, and because of that they turned up the white noise that's going on in the background, and when I came home and made the file, it was just too much. I know this is still going to be quite bad, but they have lessened it somewhat now. Yeah, they turned it up to the point of headaches and feeling ill, so I went to bed with my tinfoil hat on, as you do. The background noise had been switched off, so I thought, oh, what does that mean? But as I got up during the day and started moving around, they switched it back on again, and it's back to normal now. But on the subject of shielding, one of the best things I've found is the thermal blankets that you can get from online first aid shops and things like that on eBay, and they're less than £1 usually, but they are good. They will keep microwave attacks off you to a large extent, and because they're a layer of foil in a sandwich between polythene, a fine film of polythene of some sort, they're quite durable compared to pure tin foil, which will tear. So you can safely pin it on top of your duvet and get a good night's sleep, really. And if you lie in there quietly and you are under attack, you can hear the foil taking a hit, but nothing's getting through to you, we hope, or less of it certainly. So that's a really good, cheap preventative measure. But yes, they ramped it up on me until I was ill. So this is my third attempt now at making this file, and I've looked at my notes and I keep going off script, so it's probably going to be a 3-parter now, I'm thinking, but never mind. So where I left off in part 1, I was talking about this the sudden friendships whose main aim seemed to be to get me out and about. So of course this left my home unattended more often, which provided even more opportunity for the invaders, the people going through my wardrobe. So, you know, the gushy friendships was an initiative to get me away from home, so that they could avail themselves of my goods and chattels. And all this going out was sort of what you're going to wear thing, and I'm not that bothered. You know, I just, if there's a special event going off, I'll buy something, or I would buy something special for it, but then I'd relegate it and re-wear it and wear it and keep going on like that, because A, I've never enjoyed shopping, traipsing about in the town, and B, clothes off the peg really fitted me even when I had my proper natural figure. Yeah, they didn't really fit me, so there wasn't much incentive. And sometime at the height of my stalking, I was offered tickets to a pop concert, and it was someone who was at the height of their game at the time. You know, they were charting, and it was a big stadium or a big venue concert, and I'd never been to any such thing, and so this what you're going to wear thing went into overdrive then, and plus they were still making me feel terrified. And they started showing me via street theatre, and I'd already had the Brighton at Tinton, and they kept showing me all the terrible things that could happen on my way to or from this venue. I can't even remember where it was at. I was also offered a cassette. I had a music cassette, but I didn't accept the tickets because I was being so badly frightened off them, and normally I would have jumped at the opportunity of doing something new or something I'd never done before. So yeah, there's all this what you're going to wear, and I thought, well, if I do go, jeans and a jumper will do for me. It'll probably be dark. Who's going to know? But yeah, so my clothes were getting dirty, so they were wearing them, I think, and putting them back unwashed. I found, you know, deodorant stains on the armpits of black dresses and things like that. Bought myself a new LBD and never worn it myself, but somebody else had. And also there were I kept finding cuts in my clothes, cuts and stains, and one of the pieces of direct conversation I was subjected to, and I remember it because it didn't flow into the conversation, it just dropped in there out of nowhere. So the person I was speaking to got a V2K message to tell me this, that bugs, microphones, listening devices can be so small that they can put them into the seam of your clothes. So one of the things they stole off me was a quick unpick, or a seam ripper, is I think the usual name for them, the generic name, and that was gone, so I was finding little sections of seams on my clothes where had been seam ripped or the hem taken out. So of course then you're going into a schism about having bugs in your clothes and people listening in on your conversations when you're out and about. So then I didn't want to go out, but there was still these invitations going on. But it was just the dirtiness of these antics. And you know, you get the impression that they enjoyed doing it. It was just a bit of fun to them, but the one thing they stole, and this is really quite significant, was a pair of jeans. I'd had a Saturday job when I was in school. It was something like, I got £2.50 £2.50 a week. So because this was my first job and my first earnings, it meant I could buy what I wanted instead of what my parents thought was sensible. So I saved up my £2.50s until I got enough for a pair of Levi jeans, proper Levi jeans in those days, with the raw hem at the bottom, and you shrunk them to fit and then put the hem up and all this. And I'd kept those because they had some sentimental value to me. You know, they hadn't fitted me in years, but I kept them because they signified a big step into independence, I suppose, and freedom, and more freedom. Coming out of your childhood as being a young adult and having more freedom, and one of the ways you express it is by choosing what you want to wear yourself. So I kept them, but they stole those. They were gone. You know, proportional to how long, you know, I just had to save up weeks. I think they were about £16-19. So I had to save up right from the start of my job all through the summer, I think, to get them. And then there was another thing. I had a really nice ball gown. I used to go to dinner and dances a couple of times a year or something like that, and I had a really nice black velvet ball gown. And they shortened that to suit themselves. When I wore it, it was floor length in medium height heels, and that was how it came off the peg, and it suited me. I bought the heels to suit the dress, actually. But when I was going through my wardrobe in this frenzy of attacks on my clothing, I held it up against myself, and it was only down to my ankles. And that wasn't cheap. That was a Laura Ashley dress that I probably would have worn again. You know, it wasn't that out of date then. I saw one on eBay actually a few weeks ago, and they were asking £120 for it now. It might have been mine. And then I think the worst one was, I bought myself a new piece of underwear, what they called a teddy in those days. It was quite fashionable, a one piece of underwear. And this was really pretty by my standards, white lace and royal elastane fabric. And I wore it once, and I thought, oh, that was nice, I'll keep that for best. And washed it and put it away. And the next time I got it out to wear it, it was stained pink. There was some pink staining between the legs, of course. So I thought, well, what's happened? As I thought that when they'd been manufacturing it, something had got trapped in one of the seams, and was something that wasn't a fixed dye, and it had sort of drifted out in the washing process. And I thought about it and thought about it some more, and I thought, no, it was fine when I put it away. I'm sure it was. And it was some weeks later, or months even, and I realised that the stain was exactly the same colour as the dress I'd got. So I've got to think that someone wore my dress and my used underwear, felt the need to wash them, but didn't wash them separately. So the stain out of my nice pink Laura Ashley dress drifted into the underwear, and they don't care. But that's beyond my understanding of being feminine. That's dirty. That's used underwear. That's beyond my understanding. that's just disgusting. So this getting ready and washing my hair and bathing because I feel dirty and looking through my clothes and finding out what's been used and cut. I got the impression then that it was something about being always getting ready, ever ready, and I thought, well, this is something about batteries, but I couldn't work out then what it was. But I've realised since that it's about lithium, which is an old-fashioned psychiatric drug, and I don't know whether they prescribe it anymore, but they would pick that because one of the side effects is weight gain. So after some of that, none of my clothes would have fitted me anyway, and I'm thinking now that I'd been spiked with that way back in my middle to late teens, just once or twice, and if I'd go out somewhere, eating in public it was that caused it, I'd go up a dress size in a week, and then it'd all sort of drift away naturally again. And this happened a few times, but since 1997 it's been constant. And I was at work then when they first did it, and it was the one and only time that I used the work canteen, and I thought, well, I'll play it safe and have a salad, see what they've got to say about that. But no, in the afternoon I was trying to process the payroll and I could hardly keep my head off the desk. So they really don't care, and in I think that's been constant more or less since. And in one of the things that I've been trying to find out what the cause of was that my pupils don't react to light, and that's one of the side effects of lithium. I don't have much night vision because my pupils won't space out to let in more light. And I bought recreational drug test kits online, and they weren't showing anything. So I thought, well, it's not one of the usual ones that somebody might put in your drink in a pub or something, or just do for spite. So yeah, I was being spiked with this, and I have been ever since, apart from, because I sort of knew it, but I had no idea what it was I was being spiked with. I had a job assignment to drive overland to Italy, and I thought, well, here's my chance to find out what happens. So I just bought fruit and bottled water in Dover, and off I went. So, and by the time I was at the bottom end of Switzerland, I was coming off something, and it was awful. If I hadn't have known or suspected what it was, I don't know what I would have done. But as it was, I was just there snivelling, saying, when's this going to be over? As in, when are the side effects, the withdrawal symptoms going to be over? But it really was not very nice. Bewildering. I'd sort of lost track of my job and what I was supposed to, and I was in a strange country. So it really wasn't the best time to do it, but I thought this is probably going to be the only chance I get to get completely away from my stalkers, even though I'd seen one that had followed me in a car as far as the top end of Switzerland. I went over the Swiss border and I didn't see him after then. So yeah, I was followed overland all that way. And he's this particular man has been a constant stalker since the early 1990s, if not before. If it wasn't him, yeah, it might have been him all the way along as one of the main operatives. So yes, the lithium to cause weight gain, along with heavy metal poisoning, of course. So, but in the beginning of all this, I was still sort of aware vaguely aware that it was coming from the sky, and nobody talked about HAARP then, but I still had this idea, and I couldn't, in my own mind, be persuaded away from it. So we weren't talking about chemtrails or sky pictures in those days, but they were happening. I found them in my photographs, strange things back to 1984 when I first bought a camera, but chemtrails since 1988. So I've put those I've uploaded those in a slideshow a couple of weeks ago. So this was 1992. It was before the internet was widely available, really. I think, not so many people had the internet in their home. there were internet cafes in towns probably, but I was in a rural area. I don't think one opened until late 1990s, and then it was a fleeting thing because Windows 1998 came out, and most people did start to get them in their homes then. So yeah, so all this was going on before the internet was widely available. So there was no way of researching, of getting any sort of inkling as to what was going on with you. So HARP can look into your brain, it can hack your brain or read your thoughts. It can be used to read your thoughts, and used for mind reading, word for word mind reading. And some people think it's from satellite. It may well be. Others think it's from drones, and it might be that too. I know I went out last Sunday and came home after dark, and as I was driving back towards home, I could see 3 stars in the sky that were flashing red and green. So they're not stars. Aircraft flash red and green on their wings. So they were drones in the sky that were stationary. Whether they were military or whether they were private, I don't know. But there were 3 of them, and they were sort of ahead of me as I was coming towards home. So they're overhead somewhere. Whether they're there all the time or not, I don't know. So HARP, the other thing is that HARP can stop logical thought. And I can remember that I did struggle to make a plan, even for the rest of the day, a few hours in advance. So I think if it hadn't been for this going out, getting ready thing, I would have, I don't know what I would have done. I would have just drifted off into a nowhere sort of state of mind, really. Not have any process, nothing going on. I can remember I was trying to keep busy, but it's difficult when you're terrified. You're so frightened that you can't put logical thoughts together. So our bodies are naturally generating. Our bodies are an electrical system. Our nervous system is generating electrical waves which they can pick up and read. So, but also we can be in receipt of them. So waves can be sent to us to change how we feel, how we think or feel. Which is how they cause the anxiety, the anxious state in us in the first place. They're beaming radio waves at us, that can create different moods, different feelings, different thoughts. In their most severe, they can be used. These microwave or radio wave Q weapons can be used to cause serious medical conditions like a brain bleed, a stroke. They can aim them at your heart or any other organ. I've had a sensation of small explosions inside. What they were targeting, I don't know. I've not got much kidney function, but I'm guessing that's from the lithium type stuff. And because I've always been quite friendless, I think that there's a sort of initiative that it's not what you know but who you know. So they've had to make quite sure that I don't know anyone with any influence or power, but they can order diseases and afflictions for one another on their target as birthday presents. My incident in January 1991 coincided with someone who I know's birthday, so I had to consider that. And they do tend to steal or damage things that have been given to me on my birthday. Novels. If people have bought me novels and just written something on the inside cover, 1 or 2 of those have gone. Birthday presents that were given to me. So they can entrain our brain to go insane, which is what they put on targeted individuals in the worst, the heaviest period of targeting. And they can, in the first onslaught of it all, when you've just been in receipt of so much information coming at you from all directions, and the anxious thoughts. What they had done Yeah, so after the first few weeks, after Christmas probably it was, the cars changed from being red, white and blue to red and black. And I really, you're still in the bewilderment because you really don't know why. Is it supposed to mean something, or is it just to get your head up? I don't know. I thought they were chastising me about the way I ran my bank account, because I used to get paid monthly, and halfway through the month I'd be creeping into the red. But that was just because I'd got a mortgage. I was doing something about that. I was trying to get that better organised. But I thought I was being chastised about that, but it could mean anything. Red and black, red and black. They're just popular colours for cars. And I can remember I was so curious about this that one or two nights I got in my car and went, they were whizzing around all through the day. So I got in my car and I went out looking for them, and the roads were much quieter. And I thought, find out what's going on perhaps. And these red and black cars were all parked up at hotels and they were staying places for the night. Someone let off some fireworks, they couldn't wait. So they were all being booked into hotels nearby and stuff like that. So that's cost a bob or two. In the beginning, I had the feeling that money was no object. No idea what the black and red cars were about. So, the radio waves can also affect your waking or sleeping states, and they sort of group them into 4 or 5 main bands. And betas at the high end, and extremely high. Beta is what causes the anxiety that you're made to feel in your stalking, when you're watching street theatre, when you're receiving directed conversation, directed TV. So if you think about it, in all the years before your stalking began, you were watching TV and nothing was upsetting you. Why should it? But TV programmes are made a few weeks or possibly even months in advance of being screened, aired. So to what extent were those messages, visual messages, put into the TV programmes? You don't know. It might be nothing. It might be none of it. It might purely be the radio waves that are being beamed at you, or the people who are producing these programmes may well be on V2K, and they may have received instructions to put 1 or 2 little triggering items in there. I don't know. You can't decide where it begins and ends, how much of it was being put into your mind and how much of it was for real. And then down from beta waves is alpha, which is a relaxed state and conducive to learning. That's okay, sort of. I quite like the conducive to learning bit, but I don't like to be too relaxed. It's not in my nature. I don't like being inactive. I've never been one to just plonk down in front of the TV. I'd much rather be doing something else. Beyond alpha, there's theta waves. Now, that's also extremely relaxed, but it can cause what they call awake state dreaming. So, I think that's going to include hallucinations, I suppose. I've had a bit of that, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it was from yes and no, that it was from radio waves. A couple of times, and this has only happened recently, people would be walking they wouldn't be walking on the path. Someone would appear out of nowhere walking along the path in front of my house. They'd go for a few steps, 10 metres say, and then they disappear again. So I think that they were swathed in radio waves, but they were popping in and out of the visible spectrum of radio waves, of what we can see with the human eye. But I also factor in quantum jump, which I'm pretty sure that that's being used in some instances, and that's what's used for abductions, which is time slip, being in two places at once, or not quite at once. And there's been some instances of this, I'm pretty sure of it, in some highly publicised crimes. And they're saying, well, you know, the people who are reporting the crimes are saying, well, that doesn't quite add up, but they've got no explanation for it. And I think, well, they're in two places at once, either the culprit or the victim. That's what's being used. So, theatre also gives access to your thoughts. Oh. So they can mind read from that wavelength. So this is where they can sort of, this is where they can send your directed TV and advertising on a round, so they can be reading you today. They can V2K something that's in production in the TV and tell them to do this or add this, and your thoughts will come back to you in a few weeks' time. And ditto, over a shorter span of time, you'll get your thoughts coming back to you in directed conversation. What you were thinking, what I'm thinking now. Someone might drop making a recording into their conversation tomorrow or the day after. She's making a recording. So what I'm doing now might come back to me in 2 or 3 days' time. I don't get so much of the street theatre or V2K directed conversation anymore. I had a flurry of that in the beginning, but it didn't impress me, so I think they gave up with it. Yeah, so like your TV and things you're seeing, and newspaper adverts as well, and things like that, they're all made weeks in advance of you viewing them. So theta waves plus beta waves can create the anxiety in you whilst you're viewing TV, seeing your street theatre. Otherwise, if you saw someone doing street theatre in 10 years before your stalking started, you might notice it, you might notice their bizarre actions, but you wouldn't be upset by it. You'd just think, well, what are those daft people doing? And you might even smile about it, but it wouldn't upset you. It would just look weird, but have no emotional effect. So sometimes now they're not beaming the radio waves at me, and I do see street theatre, and I think that's not having no effect on me, and I look around to see if it's affecting anyone else. You know, is there someone else in the vicinity of me that's now under attack, or are they just doing it in an uncoordinated fashion nowadays? So what I'm wondering about this is that they can possibly create ADHD spectrum disorders. So it's all big pharma, isn't it? Because they could direct radio waves at a school and see what effect they got from an entire classroom or an entire school, and they can get them in primary school, and they've probably got a customer for life. This is big pharma. So not only is there forced psychiatry from gangstalking, but they can create false medical conditions and get a customer for life, because they treat ADHD with drugs, don't they? And then at the bottom end of the spectrum of wavelengths is delta state, which is deep sleep, even into a coma. So I think that this is what's used as an anaesthetic, and is also used for abductions. A few weeks ago I slept 16 hours out of the 24. Well, that's not normal. I don't know whether that's radio waves or drugs, or both, but it's not good, because I felt grotty for the few hours that I was awake. So this can all be piggybacked off HARP, and yeah, they can affect a lot of people. So they can either direct it to one person, or they can affect a group, a small geographical area, or vast swathes of people can be affected by a network in the sky. And the visual significance of the 9/11 attacks came to mind for me. There's lots of conspiracy theories about it all, loads of documentaries, and I've watched a few and I've mulled it over and thought, that's right, that's not right, that's maybe right, that's lies, that's hoaxery. But what I thought was that the quantum jump was in use there, for one thing. That's what I think, because one of the things that the conspiracy theorists grasp onto is the fact that Tower 7 was still standing on the BBC News when the newsreader was sat there saying, and Tower 7's collapsed, and it was there in the background behind her. So I think that they've used quantum jump for that time slip. So it probably had fallen down somewhere else in another time. So the conspiracy theorists jump on that and say, well, it's lies, but it's not really lies. It's just manipulation of time. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And then another thing about the 9/11 attacks was that there was insider trading in one or two companies in the run-up to the attacks, and one of them was Delta Airlines. So I thought, there might be some significance in that, because alien abductees think that they go out through the window, or a lot of them do. They go out through the window, whereas in the 9/11 scenario, planes went in through the window. And speculation is that the planes going in through the windows was optical illusion, all an illusion, in the same way that I think alien abductions are. Although, yeah, in that sense, in the sense of floating out through the window. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure because I've not experienced it. I have got a video clip that I think proves quantum jump, but every time I try to upload it, I put it into Windows Movie Maker and it cleans it up. It processes them. It says it's improving it, but when it improves it, that erases the anomalies in it. So I've got to try and find another movie processor that won't clean it up, and try it that way. I keep trying with it because I think it's quite significant. So yeah, the delta wave was being used there to signify the opposite effect of alien abductions. So I think I'm going to leave it there, because I've done another half an hour and because I've gone off script. It's I think I'm going to make part 3 and try and wrap it up there, and I'm going to have my little rant this time, and then I've started to get into what I think is the science. So I think I'm going to do a part 3 and talk about brain implants and body implants. So this is it for now.